thank you very much for all coming to listen to us. And I've already apologized to Nico, but I'm going to introduce with a little bit of a feminist introduction before I introduce my fantastic panel here today. So we're talking about the future of talent. So many of you are the future of talent. And I just wanted to put it into a bit of historical context. When you talk about the future, history is important. Many political scientists and historians would argue that the Industrial Revolution was the biggest impact on humans, the way humans lived. Culture changed completely. People went from agriculture to living in big towns. Families were disrupted. Independence was disrupted. People could no longer feed themselves without a salary. So the whole way that people lived, and if you think of the central theme of South Summit, which is human by design, changed dramatically. In the industrial age, the way that people operated changed significantly. The one thing that didn't change were the bosses. So the bosses before had been the nobility, the knights in armor, people in government, and in the Industrial Revolution, the bosses continued to be men. Now, I have nothing against men. I like men very, very much indeed. Many of my best friends are men. But as we look to the future, we're going through a new transformation, and that's a technology transformation. And a technology transformation that's going to be affected by generative AI and a lot of technologies which are beyond the human means to control. So we have to think carefully about what we want our future to look like, what we want our leadership teams to look like, and how much impact they can have. So again, looking at the last 100 years in leadership, there have been quite a few things that we might want to avoid in the future, like World War I, World War II. We won't talk about other things, but given the political climate today, given the changes, looking at the talent of the future is really critical to everyone's lives. If we look today in most forms of significance, so whether it's in government, whether it's in the judiciary, whether it's in business, whether it's in industry, across the world, so not just in Europe, we're looking at very male-led teams. That's something that all of us on this panel today are trying to break down. So as we said, it's not against men, but it's making sure that we've got that diversity of thought. So I founded 25 by 25, which works with corporates. So we work only with corporates to assess what their succession and talent planning looks like. How many executive women are in place? Because we see many industries which have women, majority women. Clémence gave a very good example earlier. In the retail space, you look at a lot of luxury, high-end retail brands, which women are big consumers of. A lot of women work in them, and then you look at those leadership teams, and there's not a single woman in them. Someone gave me another example of a very well-known brand, which I might not mention, but it's shoe wear, and a lot of people wear it. And they were going to a decline 5 years ago, and someone said there were 20 men in a room, one woman, she was a portfolio manager, she worked for an asset manager, and she said, well, what's the problem? They said, well, our sales are declining, and she said, 75% of your customers are women, 100% of your marketing is for men, and you don't understand that you've got a problem. If you've got men, selling to women, you need to have a balance. So that's what we're trying to do. So I'm going to introduce each one of my partners working on this, each one of the panelists, and each one will tell you a little bit about what they're doing in which part of the talent ecosystem they fit in. So starting with Clémence.
Thank you, Tara. Thank you very much. I'm Clémence Mauchamp, and I'm the founder of Leaders. And does this work better? Thank you. I think it's not. Hello? So I'm the founder of Leaders, and the theme of the panel, Nurturing Brilliance and Fostering Tomorrow's Talent, is what we do at Leaders for Women. Leaders is an ecosystem, international ecosystem of inspiring women. We are talking about C-level, exceptional artists, exceptional athletes or experts. And we connect them through a unique approach across industry, across generation, across culture. This is really creating a support system that really helps them to thrive. And Leaders is not only a network, we are on a mission to bring more women to the top. And in order to achieve this, our goal, we have included students that we select in partnership with university into our network. And by having students in our network, we really create a sense of sorority that spreads wide and far. And because we are really convinced that by supporting the next generation of female talent, that's how we're going to bring more women to the top.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Clémence. So Leanne is going to talk a little bit about benefactors.
Thank you. So I could actually tell you what I do, but I'm not going to, because I wanted to actually tell you what I want to achieve. And what I want to achieve through all the work I do is to dismantle systemic barriers that prevent women, and also women of color, and with a focus on black women, from succeeding. So I look at it from a holistic, let's say an ecosystem lens. It's not just about the women itself. I don't believe in fixing the women, sorry. I'm not a fix the woman kind of person. I'm a fix the system kind of person. So our focus is really, how can we look intrinsically within organizations, looking at their governance, their processes, the people managers, the decision makers, and how can we ask them to challenge what they think that they are doing is equitable, and how do we get them to change it? Because a lot of this is based in, we want to foster the talent for the future, but if we don't recognize their needs, we have no better idea of doing it than the previous generations to us did it. So we're really focused on centering the voices of the people, women, the Generation Z. Hold on, Generation Z is the next generation, yeah. I'm a geriatric millennial, just for clarity. To really focus and center those voices to ensure that organizations can do what they need to, not from the perspective of we're doing it for you, but we're doing it with you. And that's where we believe we make the most impact across, I would say, the whole spectrum of financial services. So thank you, and I look forward to questions later.
Fantastic.
Nico.
Okay, yeah.
Nico, thank you.
Hi, everyone. I'm Nico. I'm one of the co-founders of Shakers. Shakers is a platform that connects a community of tech talent, so anything from data development, product marketing as well, cybersecurity, artificial intelligence, with projects and companies. We are talent first, so we started by creating the community and understanding what their pains were in order to have a more sustainable way of life where they would be the ones choosing the projects that they work on, with more flexibility, with more independence. We care a lot about making sure that they can work by milestones and not on a time-based approach, so they can decide when to work and how to structure the workload as well. And we're really fighting to get clients that are aligned with our mission of having a more flexible and more diverse work environment. So we always kind of are the ones fighting these battles for the talent which is in the community, so they don't have to do it, right? So super happy to be here today with you.
We're going to address today. I work with corporates. Many of them are listed companies. And when it comes to these senior executive positions, it's always a question of risk. You know, these are senior positions. The CEO cannot afford to make mistakes. The organization can't afford to have made a bad decision. So that does mean that there's a tendency to replace an outgoing CEO with a similar type of CEO. When 95% of your CEOs are male, you can see the problem. The problem is that when you have that sort of scenario, new skills aren't coming through. So if you're not having that change in your executive committee, so if you don't see any women coming through, you're probably not seeing new skills coming through. So I might just go back to Nico, because obviously technology, development skills, that is at an executive level, that's changing. But if at the base level, the recruitment, the onboarding, and the network is changing, that creates a very positive pipeline.
Sure. I think that we have two types of references in our case, because we have our own internal team, which is now 50 people. We were 18 back in October, so we've been growing quite fast, and we've been doing a lot of recruitment. And the process has been a lot of fun, to be honest, because we try to involve the entire team, so they also have a good overview of the people that they're going to be working with, right? Not just the leader of the team that they're going to be spending time on, but also people in different functions. So it's a good representation of the environment that they're going to see once they join the organization, but also the processes that we do for the clients that we work with. And in our case, our own product team has a lot of female and you can really see the difference in the energy, right? Like when you just have a boys club where all the developers are working in their silo and not talking to each other. And our product manager, she's a girl that has been with us, she has been with us since the beginning. And the kind of conversations they have, the energy, the dynamics, they go out, they try, it changes the entire picture. So we're really trying to promote that internally. Overall, we have 50% female and male in terms of split. And we are getting more and more requests from our clients to make sure that we send them a diverse shortlist. So we just started working with Microsoft a few months ago, and it's one of the first companies that we have seen that really means that they have a diverse and an inclusive culture, and they really want to see different type of candidates, not only in terms of sex, but also in terms of backgrounds, right? Which I think that it's super interesting. You were mentioning the creative industry before. We are putting them in touch with a candidate that she's been working for LVMH and Inditex and these fashion brands for her entire career, but she's obsessed about artificial intelligence, and we are putting her forward for this product manager role that I think that she's gonna get. And she doesn't have that much of a technical background, but you can really tell that she's gonna bring in new ideas to the rest of the team, and she's gonna be super complementary to everyone else which is already in the organization. So we're really seeing that this change is becoming more real, but there's still a lot of room to improve, right? Because it's not the standard, but it's rather the outlier, I would say, still.
But that's fantastic to hear. That's what we love seeing, is seeing that flexibility and pathways that you can start on maybe a sales side, move into a technology side, and that's exactly what we love seeing. And that's part of the work that you do, Leanne, as well. You work with organizations to make sure that there's a conducive environment for that change.
And I think just to segue or follow on from what Nico is saying, I think there's three things I would say. One is we have to kind of get back to recognizing intergenerational value, as in a lot of the times I'm talking, I know I did this very briefly, but it's I'm talking about Generation Z, and I belong to this generation, and we're great at this, and they're bad at that. And I think there's a core cultural awareness that needs to happen in terms of this is my position and this is what I see, but conversely, this is what I'm looking at in potential talent, and I recognize that they bring value. I recognize I also bring value, and how can we get to the point where we understand each other to build good relationships in order to nurture talent, but for me to learn in my position, but also for them to learn. I think the secondary one, which is what you were talking about, is kind of expectations, that when we look at fostering talent, there's not this potential traditional path, but rather a very lateral path of skills. I remember when I was doing my A-levels and they said, look, you can pick anything you want to do, just do whatever you want. And I was like, can I still be a lawyer? And they were like, yes, you can. And it's recognizing that we need to kind of broaden our expectations, especially when you're in a hiring position, that maybe this person doesn't have the same pathway as you had to be able to do it. But we recognize, once again, coming back to
recognizing transferable skills and transferable talent, that this person is fundamentally intelligent, so they can fundamentally learn and adapt to skills. It is not where they went to university, it's not what they kind of show you on your CV. The question is, how adaptable are they? And am I, as the hiring person, in a position to recognize their adaptability in order to nurture said talent?
Okay, so I hope you're getting a theme here, and I hope you're getting your questions ready, because I like to have questions and questions from the audience. I'm going to ask Clémence another question, but then we're going to bring you in. But what we're looking here is, obviously, Nico works with both sides. He's working with the talent and he's working with the employers and making sure that it works between the talent and the employers. Leanne is working with the employers, making sure that they have the right organization, the right process in place. All of this is great, but fundamentally, for talent to thrive, that talent needs to feel that it's supported, that it's got confidence. And that is precisely the work that Clémence is doing. So tell me a bit about where women fail and what helps them not fail.
Yeah, thank you, Tara. What we do at Leaders is really helping corporate to bring more women to the top as well. And company face two issues. Number one, not enough women in leadership and lack of retention. Women face different issue, lack of role model, and it's very lonely at the top for women, much more than for men, actually. There's this study that shows that more men go up the corporate ladder, the more surrounded they are, and it's the opposite for the women. They feel very lonely. And corporate have made huge effort the past decades to change this, to bring more women to the top. And what we are doing at Leaders is really being complementary to companies' effort and emphasize their effort by connecting those women across industry, generation, and culture. And I'm going to give you a personal example. I worked in investment banking for 20 years, and I was in those fast-track leadership. And honestly, when you work 12 hours a day in banking, the last thing you want at the end of the day is to go for wine tasting with other female bankers. I thought it was so boring. And really what I wanted to be is to be with the woman at Google, with the journalists, with the tech person. Why? Because I see the same problem from a different angle, and that creates much more creativity and bring more business as well for the company. Right. Another example is that when you're at the top, you know, those positions are very scarce, and everybody becomes a bit your enemy in the corporate world and even in the industry, so you cannot show your vulnerability to people, to your peers. So by connecting by women who are at the same level as you, who understand what you go through, but where there's no conflict of interest, really create a safe space where you can exchange, and then it really helps to catalyst success and long-term performance, I think.
Fantastic. Before I go into the questions, I always like to ask questions to the audience. So how many people sitting here would like to be an entrepreneur? Okay, so I'm going to say about 5%, much lower than I thought. How many people here want to be a senior executive? About the same, 5%. So what do the rest of you want to be? Otherwise, I will ask you all if you don't put up your arms. So entrepreneurs, probably a bit more. We've got 15%. Want to be a corporate executive, 15%. Just want a comfortable life. So just keep a nice work-life balance. Don't want to be a sort of running a startup or being a high executive. How many people in that camp? Otherwise, I will ask you all individually. Okay, so we've got some people, no one here wants to just have a comfortable life. We all want something. So in terms of the questions, this is a really good panel to ask. As Clémence has set the tone, this is meant to be a safe space environment to ask these difficult questions. And we recognize that the difficult questions are not just for women, the difficult questions are for men as well. What we're seeking is a more balanced, a more diverse work life, so people come from different backgrounds. Just before we start, if I don't see any eagerness on questions, Leanne, we haven't spoken about the intersectional issues, because obviously it's difficult enough being a woman, but if you're a black woman and if you're a black woman from, with small children, then, it compounds, and so the pathway becomes even more difficult. So it's important to have these spaces where you can speak and ask questions. So I'm now going to ask the audience whether the audience has any questions. Okay, we have a question here. We have 2 questions here in the middle. So if someone can bring a microphone up, that would be fantastic.
Hi, good morning. So, really interesting. Not that I want to take value away at all, because I think that you have to pursue on what we're doing. But these generations that are already there, so all our male CEOs, executives, you know, they're going to be retiring, hopefully. My main question is, of course, the work has to be done and it's really important, but what about the young leaders that we are developing now? What about the seeds of young people that need to start understanding, even before they go into the workforce, what this means? You know, what would you suggest would be a good way to foster, you know, this change from now, you know?
So I think that's a fantastic question, and I want everyone to give like a quick answer, so a quick fire answer to this question, because it's a very good question. For the young generation, so we're talking about people leaving school or leaving university. Yeah, exactly. Okay, so you have to give them 3 pieces of advice, 3 words, quick fire. Nico, starting with you, what would you tell them to do?
Sure. I mean, we come a little bit later, but like what we have seen as an example that is working really well is like for boot camps, for example, to upskill people in tech, to have programs specific for women, because the amount of applicants that they receive compared to mixed programs, it's incredible. Like we work a lot with Telefonica and Wayra, and they have like a school which is a non-profit, which is called 42. And whenever they launch a bootcamp specific for women, they have like 4 times the number of applicants than it's just like the regular one, where they only manage to get like between 20 to 30% of the people to be girls.
Okay, so I'm going to answer the question, so to give the pattern. Very good answer, but not quick fire. So I would give 3 pieces of advice. So I would say, have a plan. It doesn't matter if you don't achieve a plan, but if you have a plan, it sets your direction of travel. It means that you can compare where you're going, whether you're getting there or not going there. Be confident. Always more difficult for women than for men, because the barriers that they will face will be more male. So it's going to always, at any level of promotion, more women will fall out than men. So be confident. So the third one is look for mechanisms that make you feel confident. If it's a network, use a network. If it's a mentor, use a network. If it's an organization that will be your intermediary, use that organization that's an intermediary. Clémence.
So,
Sorry.
You skipped me.
No, I'll go back. But I just thought we are going to have very long answers.
Yeah,
I
quick
didn't give an
ones, quick ones.
example.
So that's what we do at Leaders, actually, is really fostering tomorrow's talent. And there's one thing I have to say, because we have been doing that for 6 years, creating mentoring, connecting those women who are at the top and with the young students that we select. And one thing I have to say is those women at the top, they love to give back and they want to give back. Why? Because they realize how much it can make a difference for the future generation to give back. But however, they don't have time. So they wanted to do it in a very efficient manner. That's why we had so much success actually with our program, and we had mentors like Audrey Azoulay, Director General of UNESCO. We had Cynthia Tobiano, who is Deputy CEO of the Bank Edmond Rothschild. Because they want to give back, but they want to do it, they know there will be an impact. So the advice I would give is that don't hesitate to ask.
Yeah.
Ask for help.
Yeah.
It's
Ask
really
for
important.
help. And
Really
you can
important.
ask as high as you can imagine, because actually people make time.
Fantastic. Leanne.
I want to come to your point around this A-levels piece, this younger part, just because I think it's super important. And for me, it's number one, in all of these things, bring the parents along. I run a social enterprise and we work with young women. And a lot of the times their success is not based upon their individual efforts. It's based upon the fact that their parents are scared to let them go to this new world of moving from working class to middle class. Always involve the parents. The second one is another systemic one. A lot of organizations are now realizing that A-levels is far too late. So there's a real responsibility, there's a real corporate social responsibility to go into schools that are not supporting them educationally from the ages of 5, 7, 9, to give them a leader. We're all leaders. It doesn't matter if you're in a leadership position. So if you cultivate leadership skills from a very young age, but you do it with organizational support combined with parental support, this is a seismic shift in society, and it's not just an individualistic one. That's mine.
Fantastic. So provide access. Provide access in a broader way. Fantastic. We had another question behind. If we can have that question. We've got, it has to be a quick one. We've got like 1 minute. Could we have another question behind?
So I recently retired from engineering, and of course now I've started a business where I am trying to encourage young women to go into engineering and solving problems like that. And specifically, Clemence, it's international. I'm doing it in 3 different countries because I have no sense. If you could give me some more specifics, so mentoring, what can I do to be more effective as a mentor?
How you can be more effective as a mentor?
Sorry?
Can you repeat? You asked?
Yeah.
What specifically can I do to be more effective as a mentor to my young women?
Yeah, I think to be the most effective as a mentor, I think number 1 is to listen. I think a lot of mentors think they have to fix the person, and I realize some people need introduction. They know exactly where they want to go, and they just need you to open the door. Others have no idea. There are so many roads, and they just need direction. And I think listening is actually the most important thing. Then it comes, I think, naturally.
Well, I think that's fantastic. Well, I think we are running out of time, so I'm going to close up, and I'm going to close on that. If you want to help, if you want to participate, I think Clemence's word is perfect. Listen. If you can listen, we can really help change happen. You can make change happen directly with what you're doing, and Nico and Leanne and Clemence are all doing that, but everyone can help by listening. Thank you very much.